So my name's Rick Cantu, for those that don't know me, and I'm here to run a demonstration on how to do a technique that I like to call the glow effect. So a lot of people like to put, if they can, LEDs in eyes, but I try to make it a little easier by doing it just with paint. So what I'm going to show you is how I get this effect where it looks like the eye is lit up and you get the surrounding reflection, as well as how to get, if you wanted the chest to glow, how to do that as well. Okay, so it's really, when I show this to you, you're going to go, that was easy, right? Why didn't anyone think of this before? It's not hard. So one of the things I want to point out is a special color that I had made by Jesse at Garage Kit Colors US. When I start out doing this effect, I always lay down a base coat of white, and I usually thin it down pretty heavily. So what I asked Jesse to do was make a semi-transparent white, both bone white and pure white, so I don't have to do that for the demo. And you guys won't have to do it either if you go home and try to do this on your kits. So without further ado, let me get to the first thing. So as you can see, we got a nice kind of toxic green going on here. That is the first color you're going to lay down, right? And the trick is to try to layer it in such a way that it looks like the glow and the reflection fades out from the center point. Okay, you guys can see that. And you can really see it underneath here on the underneath the scales. So in between the scales, you can get that to glow too, and you really want that initial color to fade out toward the black. It's real easy to do on a black piece like this. A little bit tougher to do on a painted piece that you're trying to do make look like it's glowing. So if I painted this entire dragon and then wanted to make the eye glow, that's a little bit trickier, right? But I didn't want to get into that because that's a little more complicated. But I'll explain it. If you guys have any questions, I'll definitely explain it as we go along. I also want to show you how to make the mouth glow in between the teeth, all right, so that as if the dragon had just barely opened his mouth and the glow is coming out from behind his throat. So let's get started. Let me lay down the first color. So what I'm using here is bright yellow green. It's a golden color. It's an opaque color. You don't really need to use transparency initially when you're laying down the base coat, because you want the strength of the opaqueness of this color to help you get that reflective look. Okay, and I'll show you what I'm talking about right now. Open this up. Special thanks to Crazy Joe for bringing these things, so I didn't have to. So you'll also notice that as I work, I remove the needle cap from the airbrush. I like to work without it. It helps you get in really tight, really close, and for this effect, you kind of need to do that. You need to be really careful. Do not dig the needle into the kit because you're done at that point, right? Yeah. I've done it many a time, so yeah, I tend to be very careful when doing this. So the initial shot of this is to kind of mist it where the eye is, kind of build it up real slow. Right, you can see the color building up on it. Then you want to take a step back. As you get that first initial color in there, take a step back and look at it and go, okay, if this is going to reflect off of something, where is it going to reflect off of? So you kind of want to move the kit around a bit and say, okay, if this light is coming from that eye, it's going to reflect underneath the eyebrow. So we're going to light that up a bit. And it'll also reflect on the cheek area. Also, on this section right here. Right? And a little bit on the nostril. Because that eye, if it's really lit up, is going to be casting light in all different directions. So you kind of want to look around and kind of move the kit a bit and say, okay, if I was a light beam, where would I go? Right? And just kind of highlight those areas, like especially on a wrinkle, like this one right here. These wrinkles right here. You want to bring those out a bit. And you really kind of want to center as you go along. Center the glow where you get a nice reflective look. You really kind of want to concentrate a little bit on the eyelid too. you're going over the areas where you want that glow to be.
Is that flowing okay for you, Rick?
Yeah, no, it's doing good. So I also want to kind of get this inside the nostril, because I want the nostril to go too. Then I want to come underneath the gum line, in between the teeth, and bring that out as well. This takes a little bit of trigger control, because you don't want this color spidering out everywhere. And I think I want a little more underneath the eyebrow.
So you're finding in black?
Sorry?
You find in black?
Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes I do. It depends on what I'm doing. Right. So now you can see the basic look from here, right? What it's going to look like here after I start adding a couple more colors, doing a couple more things. All right. So it's already starting to kind of glow, right? But there's a little bit more that you can do to help it go a little brighter. So just keep kind of working this color into the eyeball, under the brow, anywhere that you think light would reflect. The other place I want to go is I want under the chin. I want those spaces in between the scales, right here, to glow as well. So I'm going to go in between those things and lay down a little layer of green, kind of fade it out from the initial line, fade it out and go backwards. Now, if you get a little crazy and it goes a little bit further than you want, don't panic. Say, okay, look, I just went over the top of that scale right there. Don't worry about it. We're going to fix that. Now, as I said, it's a little trickier. It's a little easier if you're doing this in black, over a black piece. A little trickier if you're doing it over a painted piece already. And that just takes some trigger control. So, I got that part kind of base coated well. I kind of like the way that's looking right now, so we're going to move on to the next color here shortly. What I also want to show you, say you want under the scales of the chest to glow. So you kind of do the same thing as we did under the neck. And kind of get that under there and fade it back. Get that under there and fade it back.
Y'all seeing that all right?
Yeah, you guys able to see this pretty well? Good. So the other thing that you can do with this technique, yeah, I grouped there too, but that's okay. We're going to fix that. Is see these really deep ridges right here? So I'm just going to spray that. I'm just going to give that a shot of the green. And what I did, this technique, it looks like I screwed it up, but it really didn't. So what it's called is flooding. All right, so I want that color to be really wet, and I want it to get in between those scales. All right, so I'll flood that area and then use the air to blow the paint around to make sure that it gets into the crevices. So I'm just going back over this color right here just to kind of brighten it up a little bit, fade it out some.
Now, Rick, if you wanted a different color, say, if you wanted to do a blue glow or a red glow or something, is there like a range of colors you use to do that? Because I know you've done it with different colors.
Yeah. So the trickiest color you can this technique that I'm showing right here you can do with blue and purple, and it works well. But red is a little trickier. Red, you're going to need some orange, a deep red, some orange, and some yellow,
right?
To actually get that look as if it was, red hot, really hot kind of color. So I want to clean out the color from the airbrush. I don't want to be too picky. I don't want to do that and kind of totally get rid of the color. This next step, we're going to use the mixture of what's left in your color cup and this color. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I had this color made by Jesse at Garage Kit Colors. When I do this, I usually thin it down myself, right? And I use an alcohol and water mix and an opaque white. And I will thin it down enough to where I can work it, and it works really thinly and works well. But I asked Jesse to make this color for me so that I could do this demo and make it easier for you guys if you want to take it, try and do this at home. That way you don't have to worry about ratios and thinning and all that other type of stuff. So this is the next step. I'm going to use this white, and I'm going to actually allow it to mix with the green that's in here already and get a light, really light green. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see that. See how it has a slightly greenish tint to it? So what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to come in and aim it where I want the glow to emanate from the eyeball. Right, so in this case, I want it to be more toward the front. So you kind of get it in there, brighten up the areas where you wanted the glow to be in the first place. Now, the tricky part is you don't want to cover what you did early on. Right? You want that white to brighten in a spot. Right? You don't want to cover the green that you laid down early, because that's really going to help sell the effect as you go on. Oops, started that. So when you're using this this style and you're in really tight with the paint, what's going to happen is eventually you're going to get a bunch of tip dry. And that's what happened to me right here as I tried to keep going. So what I like to do is I'll take an old stiff flat brush and I'll either cut the bristles down a bit, or this one in this case was just like this, and I just take a little bit of alcohol and water and pass it over the needle. That cleans it all off, and now you'll get a nice tight line again. So I'm just going to go in and brighten up some more of this area, including that eye line right there. And then we'll come in and brighten this area and the under the scales part. Can you guys see that? So once again, you don't want to cover what you laid on before. You want it to be really tight, as if the light was coming out from underneath the scales. Okay, so you see how I brightened up these areas where I want the glow to kind of be really bright when it reflects off that surface. Behave yourself. Okay, so now I really want to clean out my airbrush well, but you can see kind of how that already starts to look like there's a light underneath, and where the eye is, and especially underneath the scales. So the next thing you want to do is take a transparent color. In this case, it's going to be a transparent yellow. Kind of mist over the top of what you've done. Now each step that you do, actually no, that's not what we're going to do next. We're going to take the bright yellow green and thin that down quite a bit and mist over the top that way. All right, so when you're thinning out the paint, I'm going to show you this right now. You really only want a couple of drops in the color cup, depending on how thin you want the paint to be. Now, so what you're doing here is you're actually breaking down the binder in the paint. So you see, I got a drop in there, and what I want to do is mix it. So I'll take my brush and I'll cover the needle and the nozzle, and I'll gently pull it back. You see it bubbling? That just mixed your paint. Right? So that just mixed your paint and your alcohol. So now you're ready to go. So now I've got a nice, see that? You guys see that?
Yep.
Nice thin, real thin color. It's going to go on rather nicely. So what I want to do now, I don't need to be really careful with this because it's so thin, but I want to kind of gently mist over the white. And you can see, can you guys see how that's changing color? How that's kind of blending back in where it needs to be? Right, so you want to kind of just mist that over anywhere that you put the white. And if you really want to create some more subtle effects, if you're not after the really bright reflection that we have here, you can also take and back it along the back side of the original color that you laid down. Can you see where that's kind of transitioning now? Can you guys see that? Where I'm at is right under the cheekbone. Can you see that? Right, so you can also take and pull that reflective glow out more, right, as you use this thin color. So really,
So
go ahead.
So the yellow goes like later on.
Yeah. So now I'm just tinting the white that I have on here because I don't want there to be a stark. If I've got a white line, it's not going to be natural, right? You're going to want it to look white. It should look white, but I got a green glow going, right? So I want that white part to kind of take on a little bit of that green hue, right, for the original color that I use. So that particular technique is called color location, right? So you just reintroduce the same color that you used before to tint the white and make it look a little more natural. You can still see that it's bright where the white was, especially underneath these scales right here and where the eye is. But it's not that stark white color anymore. It's that nice green that kind of looks like it faded out from the initial color and is lit. Right? Looks like it has a light in there. So the final step for this particular technique is well, actually there's two steps to go. So what I want to do now is kind of clean this up a little bit. I don't know that I really have to. Now, if you're careful with this, you won't have to do this next step. I'm going to show it to you anyway. Don't think I have to do it, but I'm going to show it to you anyway because it helps sell the reflective glow. So if you'll notice underneath, between the eye and the eyelid, there's a pretty deep black line. Right? I put that there for a reason. So it kind of separates the eye from the eyelid and kind of gives a little bit more punch to the eye. Okay. I also took that black and went under the eyebrow where, can you see where that black kind of fades into the green? So I went under the eyebrow and faded that back because I really want to not have that green where it doesn't belong. Right? So I also take and I do it against in the folds of the skin where light would not normally be. Right? So it's just a way to help sell the effect. Okay. So let me show that to you right now. You don't need to thin this. This is a transparent black. This in particular is Comart transparent black. It's in a watercolor, and it's really good. I mean, I use this a lot. This can help fade things out, really strengthen up a shadow without actually using a harsh black and not kind of jacking up what you did already. So I use this particular brand and color a lot. So you just need a drop. You don't need a whole lot. And so really, I want to be able to, can you guys see that line? I want a really fine line out of that gun. Right? And I want to be able to take that. So in order to steady my hands and the rest of me, I'll take and I'll rest the piece against my body. And I will kind of cock my elbow and my shoulder against my side here, and that helps steady me quite a bit so that I can blow that black line in there. You guys see that?
Yep.
Right. And then you see where that green glow is underneath right there? I don't want that there because it doesn't belong. So I'll take and I'll fade that out. You guys see that? So then one of the other tricks that I like to do, especially with a piece that has a lot of texture detail on the scales, is, okay, I got maybe a little bit more paint on there than I should. I'll cock the piece back and blow against the scale. You see that? Right? And I'll do that with this texture too. You see that? So now what you've done is when you turn it up, now you've got the effect where it looks like the paint is, or the glow is actually coming out from underneath or between the scales. Right? So the more you add, the kind of sharper it gets. That needs more paint. And when you're doing this, especially with a transparent paint, you kind of want to blow it, just air without any paint. Just kind of dry it off a bit, and then crank it back and hit it again. All right. You can do that on both sides. And that helps solve any goofs that you might have had initially. All right, so you can see where now it looks like the top is in shadow, and in between the scales are now bright. Anybody have any questions so far? Before I get to the last part. It's kind of easy so far. Right? It's not that difficult. Blue, purple, any shade of green. Right? It doesn't have to be this bright shade of green. If you want a really bright glow, then do exactly what I did. If you want a dull glow, just kind of like a smoldering color, right? Then don't go so harshly. You know, don't put the color on as strong as I did, and avoid the white. Don't use the white. Just leave it as it was, and let it kind of just gently reflect off of the colors that you have on there. That make sense?
So are you painting this glove before you paint?
Oh no. Usually it happens after. For this particular step, I didn't want to paint the whole dragon. Right, so I just based it in black, and I just wanted to show it so it would actually show up. But yeah, normally I would have painted the entire dragon before doing the glow. And that's
gutsy.
That's just a matter of okay, I'm going for it. So you know, if you think I got it right the first time, oh no. I messed up a couple of paint jobs before I actually learned my lesson and kind of figured out what I needed to do to not screw up the paint that was underneath it. So you just have to be really gentle with it. Take your time. Don't rush it. You know, it's only paint, right? If you screw it up, dunk it in some thinner or some paint stripper, and off you go. So don't panic if you mess it up. Like I said, it's only paint. You don't have to worry about it too much.
Question for you is, I didn't realize that this was the last thing you did. So when you were going back over with the black, the last thing you did so that you could further define the glow part, if the thing's already painted, what color are you using there? I mean, you might have a multi-hued skin tone at that point, right?
That's where you have to be really careful when you do it initially.
Oh, okay, so you
This,
don't
I
really
can
want
be
to.
free.
You don't really want to have to go back over and do.
Not if you've already painted the dragon.
Okay.
Right? Now you can. Let's say this one was done in purple, and okay, I goofed a little bit, so I could thin down a little of the actual purple color, and then do what I did against the grain.
Right.
Right. And not kill what you did. Actually, it might help.
You do that flooding technique on the actual scaly part after you've already painted.
Yeah, there's another technique that I'll do, especially for really deep wrinkles, is I'll spray. Let's say I wanted. I might be able to show that to you now. With a beige, or depending on the interscale color you might want, what I'll do is especially right in here, I'll just, like I said, I'll spray the color on. I don't care how thick it is. All right. If I want it really bright in there, I just go for it. Then, okay, you really need to stay. I'll take a little bit of the alcohol water on a paper towel or a Q-tip or whatever I happen to have handy, and I'll wipe it off.
Right. Okay.
And so now you've got, you know, I went a little hard on that, but now you've got, and I showed this last year, you get colors in between scale.
Right.
Right. So now if you take another transparent color you mist over the top, then you can actually change that color to whatever you want it to be. So you can also reverse that if you've got a light color and you want a deeper scale. Use a brown or a really dark brown or even black, and do that. So the final step to this whole thing is a transparent bright yellow. In this case, we're using transparent cadmium yellow. I used a different color on this side, but this is going to work just fine. Again, it's transparent already, but you still want to be gentle with it when you're putting it back on. Click the gun out. So the last step in this technique is, again, like I said, the transparent yellow. Just kind of gently mist that over what you've done. And with a transparent yellow over dark color like this, I don't usually be very careful because it's not going to show up anyway. It will show up against the white and everything else that you did. And also, again, it helps to bring out and sell that glowing color. Can you guys tell how that's kind of brightened up a bit?
Yeah.
Right. So, and that's it. That's really it. This, if you use the same for blue, it would be a medium blue with the white, and then a light blue. You thin down the original blue and you kind of mist over the top. Purple, same way. Now, I don't have the colors here, but I'm going to explain to you how I would do red, a red glowing eye. So, for something like that, I would take a really deep red, or a true red, and do the exact same thing I did with the green. Next step would be to use orange, right? And kind of, this is where you got to be really careful. You have to blend that color out, right? So that now you're aiming where you want that brightest part to be. Now you have that orange color on top of the red, and it looks like a fade. Now, final step, well, not next to the final step. Next step, you use the white and hit it where the brightest part would be. So with that, I mean, your trigger control has to be dead on, because if you goof, then it's going to ruin the effect. Okay.
Yeah, you're starting over.
Yeah, basically.
You're doing that over a white primer, right? You're not doing that over.
Oh no, I'll do it over black.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do, or white, or it doesn't really matter. It really depends on the brightness of the glow, is how you want that to be. If I wanted this to be really subdued, I wouldn't have really hit it with the white. I might have done the green and left it alone. Right. Just
You're
to give
doing
it a
this
nice
really
little
over a painted kit already.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so the primer that you use.
Yeah,
no longer
you've already
is-
this dragon
right.
would have been blue or
Right.
purple,
Okay.
right?
So okay.
Or even a deeper green, and then I would have done the green over the top of it. So the choice of eye color or really glow color is really up to you, and the color that you've already done your piece. So the Kerrigan that's out on the display in the dealer's room,
Rocks.
the eyes are bright purple. I painted those a glowing purple, but they're a little more subdued than this is, right? So because I didn't want a reflection on her skin, I just wanted the eye to kind of stand out. So the technique is versatile. You can do a lot of things with it, from a real, like just a gentle glow to a medium glow to a real bright glow. Right? Now that on that red, as I was explaining, the last step with the white, to get that pinpoint, right? You kind of want to just fade it out a bit and then have a really bright white center. Right? And that final step would be to use the yellow to really kind of change it to that yellowy orange color, like a flame. So red is the trickiest color to use, or the trickiest glow to do with this technique. Not impossible, and it looks really good if you pull it off.
I was just thinking, for somebody who might be compressed air challenged like myself, you ever use, I see some of these techniques, you probably get the same effect with some dry brushing. Could you do that?
You could. It won't be as convincing.
Yeah.
You could, especially if you wanted. If you were able to do wet on wet blending, you can get this effect under the scales, and then just dry brush over the top with black or whatever your chosen color was. You can do this with a brush. It's just not as easy.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you could absolutely do this with a brush. This is not easy.